Hi everybody, it's Linda here from Erica Michaels Designs, and this is the video for the brand new things releasing here in May. I have 4 new designs, and details have already gone out to your retailers, so they will have all the information you need, but I wanted to do the show and tell for you here. So, first off is a new trio of berries. Now, when I started to do recently, I introduced it at Nashville, a new series that I call Marking Sampler Adaptations, all about the alphabet and the marking samplers. Well, this trio of berries kind of falls right in with that. And I'm calling them alpha berries because they're all about the alphabet. So I'm going to kind of try to hold them up here all at once. Here we have alpha berries. I'll show them to you one at a time. I have stitched these on 36 count affogato linen from Fiber on a Whim, but the you'll see here that they are pretty much monochromatic, so you can stitch really on any fabric and floss combination that you like. I've chosen something that's primarily deep dark blues with some accents of greens and browns. Pretty easy to switch out if you want something brighter, that sort of thing. So first off, this one actually says My Letters, and it's got a few little sampler type birds, and there's a lowercase alphabet here. Now, all of the alphabets and the letters that I use in these berries are taken from some of my own samplers that I have in my collection. So this is the first one. Then I have another style, or it's a little bit larger lowercase alphabet that I like to use when I have space for a larger one. And again, it's just the lowercase alphabet wrapping around the berry with a few little motifs to fill in the spaces. And the third berry, this might be my favorite one of the 3. I took a cursive uppercase alphabet, and I, instead of, you kind of see the difference, the letters are kind of the typical up and down here. In this berry, they are going horizontally. So what happens when you're stitching this is that you're stitching them horizontally across that berry template, but it still really looks wonderful. This one is completely monochromatic, and it's this wonderful little cursive or script alphabet. Really like this one. Now for toppers, I actually did basically the same top treatment for all 3, but they all look a little different because I've tweaked it just a bit. They all have a base cap. That's my favorite go-to scalloped shape. And then there is a square that's cut that just layers on top of that. And then there's a bit of trim looped. In this case, it's some twill tape, and there's a vintage button. So it's a layer of just 4 things: 2 layers of wool, the trim, and a button. And as you'll see here, here is the one lowercase alphabet. Here, it's the wools, a different type of trim, and another button. And finally, the My Letters, 2 layers of wool again. This time it's ribbon, just looped, and then that button. So they all tie together as a nice little trio, but they're not too overly matchy-matchy if you are into that sort of thing. So these are the alpha berries, all 3 berries in the same chart pack. Hope you love them like I do. So speaking of the marking samplers, I am introducing another one in the series with this release. And first, let me show you the little antique. It's a little small sampler, and it was stitched by what we can assume were two sisters, Charlotte and Polly. And it's kind of what I would call maybe naively or quirky. It's not a real precision, pristine sampler. There is a lot of up and down movement in how the letters are lined up. And some of the letters are a little backwards looking or different from one another, but they each of them stitched the uppercase alphabet, the lowercase alphabet, and the numerals 1 through 10. And then there are a few little basket type motifs across the bottom here and there. There are also some other initials, all with the second letter or surname initial is H, and the number 2 and 3 down here. It's not dated, but I'm thinking perhaps the 2-3 might mean 1823, but I have no way of knowing. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this is they've both stitched their full name at the bottom, Charlotte and Polly, and it looks like their last name is Hard, which is a little bit unusual. So is it maybe Hand. But when you look in the alphabet that they stitched, the letter N, here it is right here, is stitched as we would expect. But both of them stitched in R, which is backwards to us. So I'm a little more inclined to think that their surname might be Hard, but again, we'll never know. So this is the original sampler by the two sisters that I used for this little adaptation. Now, as in the other marking samplers, the adaptation uses their alphabet, but it also adds a different verse about samplers and letters and alphabets. Whoops, sorry about that. Here is the adaptation. I have straightened up the lines a little bit so they're not just so irregular. And the verse, Christ's cross be my speed and in all virtue to proceed. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T, W, V, X with Y and Z. Amen, amen. This Christ cross little kind of rhyme actually dates back to the Middle Ages when they were looking for ways to teach young children their basic letters. And that rhyme, or that kind of sing-songy kind of rhythm to it, was the way that they learned the letters. And it started with Christ's cross. And it's not in Charlotte and Polly's original sampler, but you will often see this uppercase A right here in samplers, and it's got a bit of a cross to the motif, Christ cross. And so I did add that in to incorporate the Christ cross verse. So this is the adaptation, and the pretty little motifs that they use, they're arranged a little bit differently than the original. And then I have included Charlotte and Polly's initials and the 23 because I might think that it was stitched in 1823. So this is the new adaptation. It's Charlotte and Polly Hard is what I'm going with. And remember, in each of these adaptation chart packs, you're going to get a full color card with an alphabet. So if you're looking for something quick to personalize, if you're collecting these, you can just grab your little folder or whatever you're using to accumulate these cards and have a nice reference point for a quick alphabet. This is their upper and lowercase alphabet that they've used, even with the backwards R and some of the other little interesting quirks that they stitched into their alphabet. On the front, I've charted out a Christ cross, and I talk a little bit about that. And there's information about that verse in the chart pack as well. And in case you've forgotten, in each of these chart packs for the marking samplers, there is a link where you can download this fun little alphabet ABC chart and do what you like with it. I've made it into a little pocket that is sized to fit the cards. So you could make it into a project bag or just as a cute little sampler, really whatever you like. But the link to this particular pattern is in the chart pack of each of the marking sampler adaptations. So that's Charlotte and Polly. Next up, I'm starting, I kind of hesitate to call it a series because it's only 2 parts, but it's seasonal. And I'm releasing spring and summer in one chart pack, and the autumn and the winter will come in the fall. So here we go. I'm calling this For All the Seasons. So this one will be For All the Seasons #1. And you'll see it's just spring and summer spelled out. And for each one, there's a bit of a, not a verse, maybe just a brief description about that particular season that I found. In this case, New Beginnings for spring. Each of these designs has that stitched in kind of the negative where it's a solid field of stitching, and then highlights that little bit of wording, and then there's the name of the season, and then a pretty little repetitive pattern. So that is spring. Summer simply says lazy, hazy days. Now the other thing that I have done, and I'll bring this up close, you can see in that solid area of stitching band across the top, I have added, in this case, just bands of large cross stitches over 4 threads, just to add some texture. If you're like me, sometimes you get bored with filling in those large solid areas. And in this case, I created texture by stitching some eyelets on a diagonal. Now this texture that I'm adding is completely optional. You could certainly just stitch that as solid stitching all the way across, but I am giving you some little bits in the chart pack if you want to go with something like this. Both of these are trimmed in rickracs, just stitched around the perimeter of the little pillows. What I would suggest, they're completely monochromatic. So you can do something very bright for spring, you know, bluer or maybe golden for summer, completely up to you. What I would suggest, if you're going to do something where you've got some trim, such as the rickrack, that you might want to get your trim first so that you are happy with how your floss selection goes with your trim. So this is For All the Seasons. This is the spring and the summer that will be available here soon. And obviously the autumn and winter companion to this will release separately later this year. And finally, if you are stitching the Quilting ABCs design that was released in Nashville, I'm releasing the second part for that series. So it will be the second row in the design. The model, the large model itself, is already out on Trunk Show. So I'm not able to actually hold that up and show it to you right now. But if you are doing this, then you know what we're doing. This is part 2, row number 2, as I was saying. So you can just follow along row by row. 3 more parts after this one. But in each of the chart packs, I'm giving you an example of something else that you might do with these little individual quilt blocks that are in the overall design. And in this case, I made this little pin pillow, and I pulled just the little quilt block piece rather than the block with its letters, and group them together into a pretty little design that can make a nice size little pin pillow. So this is just another option for what you might do. And lots of creative options. I've already seen some people doing individual pillows for each block. A lot of folks are well underway and maybe even done with the first row. So if you're one of those, it won't be too long before the second one's out and you can keep going. I will take a minute here to let you know that we do have a Facebook group specific to this Quilting ABCs. So you can search for the Quilting ABCs by Erica Michaels, SAL. It's not so much strictly an SAL where we've got a real schedule, as much as a way for you to just join with some others who are working on it. Maybe you're playing around with colors a little bit, or you have a question, whatever that might be, feel free to join that group. So part number 2, also releasing. In terms of timing, my schedule is that my auto ship retailers, those are going to ship on Friday, May 12. So that third week of May, I would expect that these will start to show up in at least some of those stores. The following Monday, I'll start shipping to shops that are signed up for an automatic specifically for the Quilting ABCs, and then other shops following all through that week of the 15th. So it won't be too much longer now. So that's it. I hope you love everything and enjoy your summer. I know here in Tennessee, today is a spectacular spring day. And so I'm really enjoying the green and everything about spring right now, except maybe the allergies. So take care, everyone. Enjoy your stitching. That's what we're here for, is to just enjoy ourselves as we move through. Take care. Bye now.